Hello, my name is Pratik Mukhopadhyay. I'm an entrepreneur and an author. I'll be hosting the Reimagine Sales Systems podcast, where I'll be bringing some of the industry thought leaders who will be sharing their go to market strategies for their business systems. All right, listeners. Today I have the pleasure of inviting Mudit Agarwal to my podcast. Mudit is an IT executive. He has held leadership roles at Genesys, Rubrik, and VMware. Welcome, Mudit.
Yeah, thank you, Pratik. Thanks a lot for having me.
So, Mudit, you have had a very interesting career. Can you talk a little bit about your journey into the enterprise world?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a journey ups and down, and many people have the similar kind of experience. But I think I would define myself as a incidental IT career. So that's why I kind of got into IT. And what happened was is like back when I was like doing my graduation and all. So I was actually wanted to do my engineering initially, and then I couldn't get into engineering very first attempt over there in India. Is you have to write an exam, an interview, and all that
Correct.
stuff. So couldn't get into in the beginning. But what I did was then I kind of signed up for Bachelor of Science in the local college, and but still I was kind of longing towards engineering. And what happened was is like after my Bachelor of Science was done in a couple of years that time, and then I kind of thought like, oh, what do I do? Like either I can do like Master of Business Administrations or I can do engineering. And I kind of like applied, kind of tried both of them. And then what happened was is I kind of got selected in engineering and went to REC Allahabad. And another story over there is I was trying to kind of stay away from computer science. I still had an option to kind of get into computer science, but I kind of got into industrial production over there. So 4 years I did industrial production over there in like REC Allahabad. And what happened was, guess what? Like my first job was in computers. So I landed with Satyam Computers. Now it's called Tech Mahindra. And that's where I started my journey in Hyderabad. It's a very nice city, long back. And that's where my whole journey, that's why I define that incidental, like IT, I landed into IT career. So that's how I kind of started my journey. But I think what I look at afterwards is like three different phases of my journey overall. First one is as a programmer. So I think obviously I started my journey as a programmer. Over there in Satyam, did a lot of work for mainframe platform and with something called Credit Bank at that time. So did a lot of work with them. And then I started kind of working with the Motorola. We got a project with Motorola for building the wireless application protocol. Like that time it was like just as specs came out and we started kind of working towards that, moved from Hyderabad to Bangalore and started working in that.
Very interesting.
So that was pretty good. Like, and afterwards I moved to United States. And that's where my first job over there was for a very small company, about 20, 25 people company was there. And it's called Magnet Point. And we were building a unified messaging platform over there in Magnet Point. So what I define is like one of the program we were doing over there is with GM Motors, General Motors. And the program was like automating home appliances and home system. Like for example, opening and closing the garage door from your mobile phone. So we did all this programming and set up back in like almost 2 decades back. And what I see that it takes almost that much time to come to everybody's hand to kind of now we can do that open and close garage door from our mobile phone. It took that much time, but I think we started doing that work almost 20 years back. So that was awesome. And then I moved to HP and did a lot of work with IPG. And IPG is like Imaging and Printing Group, which is a big
very interesting.
And then we started kind of enhancing, building the tool, all customer facing tools. So that's like my journey as a programmer, like in all across. Then I defined my next step is as an architect, where like I was there at Cisco, at VMware, largely like doing very large kind of transformation programs. At Cisco, we re-architected quite a bit of like all partner facing and customer facing tool, which is like called that like EMCO that time, I think engineering, manufacturing, connection online. I still remember that acronym. It kind of stuck with me. So did a lot of re-architecture work over there. And then also we rebuilt the reverse supply chain for Cisco, which is almost like a multi-billion-dollar business at that time, just for reverse supply chain. And that story was actually pretty nice, and it was actually published in Reverse Logistics magazine as well. So they reached out to me and we started writing that story for the magazine, and they liked so much, then they published us on the cover story as an article. So that was awesome. And me and a couple of my business partner was published on the front page of the magazine. So that was good to see, like hard work was paid off and at least industry recognition. So that was awesome. Then also kind of moved into CRM space over there, like with we call that enterprise CRM team. And we look at like across the board, like I don't know, maybe there were 35 plus production org, and one of the tasks we had was how do we kind of consolidate all of them, or make it more agile and that kind of a thing. So it was a lot of work as an architect. And then I kind of moved my career as a leader. So at VMware, like leading the SaaS application implementation, and
Very interesting.
then also like various tool evaluation and finding the ways to automate business process. And then what we did was one of the large program over there for rebuilding the renewal business for VMware. So what the story over there was, VMware was like $6 billion company that time. So 1/3 of the revenue coming from renewals, but renewal process was given to a third party to execute. And that's like, you can't do cross sell, you can't do upsell. So the company was realized very soon after, like we need to pull that process in so that we can bank on it. So that's a large program we did, which is like rebuilding the whole renewal process on Salesforce and Oracle e-business suite. So that was large program was done that time. And then I moved to Rubrik, and Rubrik, it was like awesome to kind of see, like coming from large companies, now Cisco and VMware and Rubrik. I was the very first employee there in the business applications team. So there was no one in there. There was IT operations, but applications, there was 0 people. And I was the first employee to join over there. And I kind of took like 3 contractors, like who were reporting into sales ops. And that team like grew to almost 40 people team in almost 18 months. And while the company was growing from 600 employees to almost 1600 plus, and I kind of was able to kind of scale to multiple different areas, and implementing Workday, implementing like obviously Concur Coupa implementation. Large program we did was MSP over there, obviously enabled Salesforce CPQ over there as well. And MSP is like managed service provider, where
yes, yes.
Like, yeah, multi kind of tenancy built into the product, and multiple one service provider could host multiple customers on the same break. We used to call that break over there at Rubrik for data management. So that was large kind of large scale or white space kind of implementation, greenfield implementation. So that was easier to kind of put the systems in, and that's the good kind of journey, 18 months or so. And then a lot of work was done like in terms of like scaling the businesses and implementing new business process as well. And then I moved to Genesys. Genesys is like kind of last 2 years over there, just coming out of Genesys. In last 2 years over there, the larger opportunity over there for me was, obviously it's a growth role for me, like leading the team as VP of applications for go-to-market. And the opportunity over there was transformation. So at Rubrik, a lot of wide greenfield implementation was done. And at Genesys, the opportunity was transformation. A lot of like custom legacy tools were there, supporting multiple product line. But beyond that, like opportunity was enabling a consumption-based model on our standard Salesforce CPQ and billing. And that's where a lot of work was done, very large, complex program. And that was delivered earlier this year. And this is a kind of a good scale for the company to kind of get another $1 billion business from consumption-based model. So that's my kind of story as a programmer, as an architect, and as a leader. And obviously a lot of work I am doing with the industry as well, multiple times speaker in many different conferences. So that's my journey.
Thank you. No, this has been really helpful, Mudit. Now, our podcast is about enterprise sales systems and business systems. So I think I'll ask you kind of a related question. Either in your prior companies, whether Rubrik or Genesys or even VMware, like what were some of the ways they would go to market, and what did you as a leader build systems to make those sales motion work?
Yeah, so primarily, I think if I look at my past few companies, like it was channel heavy. So most of the business, like I think 80-90% of the business is kind of moving through the channel. So it's like a good partner program and like co-selling with partner. So most of the time that was a scenario. But there were times there's a direct selling as well, where like our salespeople directly, like Genesis Rubrik, are kind of directly working on the deal as well. But most of the time it was through the channel and good kind of a channel presence across the board, which is kind of helping pushing the business.
That's awesome. So when it comes to channel, um, I mean, people call it a partner strategy or a go-to-market strategy, but like when you were doing these large scale projects, what were some of the best practices, right? Stakeholder management, for example. But if you can share some examples of how did you implement or execute these and some best practices, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I think it's a wide area of like different systems and the processes were implemented to support that. And again, like the whole journey kind of start from like how do we gather the lead, right? I think that's where it is. Like it doesn't matter what kind of marketing automation tool is used, Marketo, Eloqua, but beyond that, like how do we enable that in like whole CRM space, like for most of the company using Salesforce. And I've seen that in past my 4 or 5 company, everybody kind of on Salesforce platform. So having the right ecosystem is absolutely helpful. And there are many other products kind of built on the Salesforce platform, which is easy to kind of plug and play. So that's a good part with the Salesforce platform. And then from quoting point of view, I think enabling like into Salesforce CPQ and making sure like there is a good process for e-signature or the CLM process. I think that's also kind of a key to that. And then I think how does it kind of tie back to the back end and beyond that, like partner is there on the partner portal. Is there a strategy to enable the self quoting over there for partners so that the partner can quote by themselves? So it's a self-service tool. And that's kind of a scalability over there, because then that's where it goes in, like instead of dependent on somebody else to kind of put together the quote, another salesperson and partner could kind of do it by themselves. So that's kind of like, and having the right program structure as well for partners, I think helpful, because they might start journey very initial phase, like we call that registered partner, but they might go higher up as they close the deal or meet their targets.
Got it, got it. So when it comes to implementing projects, I know there are a lot of challenges, but uh, any example where you were faced with, let's say, a time crunch or a lack of revenue and how you overcome, or any stories from your past that somebody else listening in when they're taking up such a project can and do?
Yeah, sure. I think every project there would be some limitations or some things would be there which like need to be accounted for. But having that tight program structure would always help. So in terms of like, if any issue comes up, like how do we first of all bubble up those things much early in the game? So having a tight collaboration or tight partnership with the business is and operations team is absolutely needed. And then having that, if let's say there's a transformation project, and most of the time that's a quote to cash is a transformation project, because many times company do not have the right tooling, right platform, right business process. So considering that, like it's not going to be a lift and shift. So it's going to be a transformation. And so what happens when there is a transformation project, there are few things need to be accounted for. It's like not just like what people are doing, but many times if it's a long running legacy system, then issue becomes is like people are very much tied to that process and the way it is working. And when the transformational thing comes up or change in the process comes up, like people are not able to kind of look for the what changes coming up, and many times kind of transformation lost in the translation. So that's where I think it's very much needed to identify the goals and put together the right structure, and then assess the current state, where the current state is, and obviously define the target state as well. Like this is where we are, this is where we are going, and define this milestones, like interim milestone, not just like when we reach there, then what it looks like. And milestone means like you have the requirements, then have the CRP, like conference room pilot done, some demos done, and like interim success, like define different milestones so that you can say, okay, this thing is done now, so you can celebrate and move on. And that kind of a thing needed, like absolutely for any transformation project. And obviously enjoy the journey, not just like destination when you reach, but like while you are working with the entire set of people, is like make sure of that you enjoy those moments.
Those are really great insights. That's very helpful. Now, let's talk a little bit, Mudit, about COVID. So, a lot of business models may have changed. So, either at Genesis or Rubrik, were there some projects that you prioritized because of COVID, or projects that you sort of moved it because they're not high priority anymore? Like, how has basically COVID impacted your thinking and your strategy?
Yeah, I think there are the multifold thing. One is like because of COVID as well, like company like want to kind of have different set of offers very specific to COVID. So obviously those kind of offer structure or like whatever like changes need to be done in the system takes much priority than any other projects. And those were, I think, all those things related to COVID or building new offer structure or framework, we prioritize all of them to make sure of that like companies is still kind of leader in the market and able to kind of sell and able to kind of offer those kind of terms and condition to the customer in the COVID situation. So those were the projects absolutely prioritized. But beyond that, larger transformation was like at Genesis for quote to cash. And that's where primarily, I think that was the project even started like pre-COVID. And there was no change in the priority because of COVID. But I think obviously everybody remote working and a little bit enhanced challenges, but I think we overcome all of them. And then we kind of rolled that program out earlier this year. So there was change in like obviously from perspective of like how we work, how we kind of make sure of that, how we collaborate with others, and make sure of that the team is doing good beyond that. So having a constant touch point with the team always help, and make sure of that people are doing okay. Like it's like geographically distributed team, and there are different challenges because of COVID in different part of the world. So make sure of that like everybody is like able to cope up with the challenges and able to kind of work hard and play hard.
Thank you. Mudit, we are almost at the end of our podcast. I'll ask you an interesting question. So we have a lot of young listeners, people, early career folks working as business analysts or developers. Like, what are some of the recommendations you would want to share with them so they someday become a leader like you?
Yeah, so I think have some sort of a strategy in your mind. So I think my priority and my strategy is like I defined as a acronym BEST. So BEST is like BEST, but BEST stand for like build an agile and cohesive environment. And that's like not at leadership level or for everybody. As a individual contributor, you could help over there as well. So for that, like obviously you want to assess the environment, make sure you are kind of aligning with everybody and balancing the team as well, like full-time contract people, and then find the ways where you can enhance the process efficiency. So that's where I call that B for build an agile and cohesive environment. The E stand for enable business transformation. I think we talked quite a bit already on the call in terms of how do we enable the business transformation, goal structure, and where we are, where are we going, defining milestone. All that kind of comes in there, but it's not just talk point, right? We should able to walk the talk, like have very much practitioner approach in terms of enabling the business transformation. And as a scale for a scale business. And now scale business could be many different things, like there could be well-defined demand intake process so that everybody kind of align with what demand is coming in, and agile and enhanced NPI process. NPI becomes the key in every organization. Having a well-defined process is big conversation by itself for some other day. How do we enable NPI? But again, continuous innovation, find ways. This innovation is not like that new product coming up or new something coming up all the time. Whatever you are doing in your, like, let's say as a BSA, you are writing functional requirement, find ways how could you improve or how could you enhance or innovate in that area. So it could be innovation, it's at every level, not at just like a new product coming out, but process innovation or like your how you work and how you communicate, that innovation. I think everything is like kind of improved on. So that's stand for is S for scale for business. And then T for team up and build trust. I think that's very much needed. Whichever team you are working, your internal partners within the team, and external partners as well. You are working business or customer. So I think having an open communication with them and continuous touch point, have the frequent feedback sessions. And then obviously you should be able to make sure of that, what you kind of say and do. So those kind of things are there. That's where I define as BEST as an acronym, and other people can leverage that as well. But just make sure
Right.
of that you are covering all the bases.
That is very unique, and thanks for sharing that, because I think that allows a lot of focus to folks to prioritize. And I think this BEST acronym is something you should probably trademark, because it's a very interesting framework. Thank you, Mudit.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Pravi.
All right. So with that, I would like to really thank Mudit for his time today. We learned a lot about his journey. We kind of learned about some of the best practices and also the advice he gave for some of our listeners on the BEST framework. That was really helpful. Thank you, Mudit.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So with that, I would like to wrap up this podcast. Thank you all for tuning into Reimagine Enterprise Sales Systems. To listen to more exciting podcasts, please visit my website, protikm.com or protikm.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, and other channels that you follow, so that you'll never miss your show.